Hi, welcome to Becky's Garden Paradise. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to bring you a full video of Stampede style sauce, which is a recipe in the Ball Complete Guide to Home Preserving. It's on page 262. So I'm going to make a full batch of that. If you have this book, it talks about a 2-in-1 barbecue sauce for you to make the base tomato sauce and then use half of it to make Stampede style sauce and half of it to make sweet and sour sauce. But I'm only interested in that Stampede style sauce today. So I'm going to make a full batch of that. So I've done the math to double the ingredients in the recipe for the Stampede style sauce. So I'm kind of on a race against the clock. I only have a couple hours to get this canning recipe completed and processed. So, I'm using number 10 cans of crushed tomatoes from Sam's. I've already put one full can in the stock pot and I have that on low heat just to start heating it up. So just because you didn't grow enough in your garden or you're unable to garden at this point in your life, I still encourage you to give canning a try, even if you are using ingredients that you bought. That's just fine. All right, I have tomato plants, not enough to do a full batch of this sauce. So I went ahead and got this because I wanted to get the sauce made. So I had already cut 2 onions, 2 bell peppers, and a few cloves of garlic, and they need to be pureed. So I'm going to be putting them in the Vitamix to puree them before I add them to the crushed tomatoes. Even though I'm going to use my immersion blender toward the end to make sure I have a nice smooth sauce, I'm going to go ahead and get the process started by putting about half of this into the Vitamix at a time. And I also have water in my water bath canner so that it can go ahead and start heating up, because if you've water bath canned, you know that that can be a time-consuming process, and I don't have time to sit around and wait on a canner. So we got to multitask and have this heating up. I just put a splash of vinegar in the water bath canner to help prevent the hard water from staining the outside of the jars during the canning process, and I'll be using this vinegar in the recipe as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put half of these ingredients, half of the onions and bell peppers. It calls for green bell peppers, but use what you have. If you have red bell peppers, if you have orange bell peppers, it's all going to be tasty in there. I just got some bell peppers to use, green bell peppers. So I have a couple peppers, not a whole bunch. I didn't grow as many peppers this year as I usually do. Alright, so that's about half of the peppers, onion, and garlic. I'm going to put the rest to the side. I'm going to make sure I put it somewhere where it's not going to fall. Because when I turn this blender on, it's going to be vibrating the counter. Okay, so I'm going to see how it'll do with just the onions, peppers, and garlic in there. If I need to add some of the vinegar for the recipe to the Vitamix to get it to puree well, then I will. I'm also going to add the celery seeds and the mustard seeds that the recipe calls for to the Vitamix to try to get those pureed as best as possible, so that I can avoid having a gritty texture in the sauce. So for the recipe, I need 2 tablespoons of mustard seeds and 1 tablespoon of celery seeds. So let me get my tablespoon out. It's a teaspoon. All right. Let me double check, make sure I'm getting it right. 2 tablespoons mustard seeds. I'm going to start with those. Not a fan of mustard. If you don't have mustard seeds, you could use ground mustard, the equal amount, so 2 tablespoons of ground mustard. Or if you don't have that, you could use like the prepared mustard. But I'm not a fan of mustard by itself, but I'll tolerate it in this recipe. So that's 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons. I'm not finished to that jar, but I like to save these little jars for my homemade herbs, so I won't let this go to waste. I'll take those labels off and scrub it and have a nice jar that I can store herbs in or gift herbs in. So I'm going to put this over to the side. And then I need 1 tablespoon of these celery seeds. So I made this previously with homegrown tomatoes. And actually, you know, one of the benefits of using the bought, you know, number 10 cans of the crushed tomatoes is that it helps speed up the process a lot, because it's saving me from having to blanch and peel the tomatoes and cook them down as much. Okay, so I'm done with the celery seeds. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on. Turn it on and see how it does. If it needs some liquid, then I'll add some of the vinegar from the recipe. Definitely pureed. Okay, definitely pureed. I'm gonna get a plate to put over here because I need to make sure that I stir these tomatoes regularly. You know, tomatoes, like I said, they'll stick pretty easy. So I have it on low. It's only on 2, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn it closer to 4. If you like a chunky spaghetti sauce, crushed tomatoes are perfect as they are to make a spaghetti sauce with. So I pureed that first half, but we want a smooth sauce, like, you know, barbecue sauce. All right, so I'm gonna add the rest of the onions and peppers. Save myself some time having those pre-cut. A lot of times when you have, you know, when you're planning to do canning, it's helpful to get your supplies out and ready the night before. Make sure your jars are nice and clean. Make sure, you know, double check that you have all the ingredients for your canning recipe ahead of time. If there's any chopping or peeling involved, go ahead and you can do that with a lot of things the night before. All right, so that's the rest of the onions and bell peppers. I didn't even need to add the vinegar, but I probably will add it after I finish pureeing to rinse out the blender. So I can see very little, you know, teeny tiny specks of the seeds that I put in there, which is what I was looking for. Kind of like, you know, like a pepper flake or of ground pepper, you know, that you would sprinkle over your food. I don't think it'd be very pleasant to bite into half of a celery seed. All right, so I'm gonna put this over here. I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in so you can see how nice and smooth the Vitamix pureed those, you know, peppers and onions together too. So it's gonna incorporate well into the sauce. Since the tomatoes are, you know, mostly finished and ready for the recipe, because I use the canned crushed tomatoes, it's really a matter of heating it up, seasoning it, And then using the immersion blender. If I had bought tomato sauce, I wouldn't even need to use the immersion blender. Make sure you stir the sauce. Don't worry about the color of the puree. It's all going to be like a dark brown, like a, dark barbecue sauce, steak sauce color by the end. Those bell peppers, onion, and garlic are going to add good flavor to the sauce. I'm going to grab my rubber spatula just to try to get some more out. Got a little more out. There's still some more in there that I'm going to rinse out with the vinegar. Okay. So I'm just going to set that there so that I can see it. Give this another stir. I'm also going to turn the heat up on my water bath canner, because this recipe should come together pretty quick. So in place of 2 seeded, crushed, dried cayenne peppers, I'm going to use 1 full teaspoon of ground cayenne powder. And this recipe is supposed to make about 6 pint jars. So you're only getting about 1/6 of a teaspoon in each jar. I have extra jars ready in case the recipe makes more than it says. I'd be happy to have more than 6 jars. Alright, so I got the cayenne in there. I could put those seasonings away. I'm going to set this spoon right here. I'm going to give it another stir to incorporate that cayenne. When you make jams and jellies, they always caution you to use a larger pot. And I would do the same thing if you're making your own condiments, your own sauces. Give yourself extra room in case the sauce splatters or bubbles. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and open this, because I need 3 more cups of crushed tomatoes out of the second number 10 can. I need 16 cups total. So the first one was about 13 cups. Maybe a tad bit over, but that's fine. If I have extra sauce, I'll be happy. It's nice to make your own condiments. Gonna wipe the lid off over the, not here, bubble. I'm already glad I have a big pot. Just trying to get all the product in here. I don't want to waste anything if possible. Okay. Put this back over here. Rinse the tomato sauce off my hand. Alright, it's heating up. And it's already darkening in color. Alright, let me get my 1 cup measure. I need 3 of these. Okay. 1. 2. 3. And that's it for the tomatoes. Just gonna wipe the cup out and off. Gotta get as much product in here as possible. Don't want to waste anything. Okay. Done with that. Okay, so let me double check my recipe. I have all the tomato products. I have the bell peppers. I have the onions. I have the garlic. I have mustard seeds, celery seeds, and I have the cayenne pepper. So next I need to go down to the ingredients that are specific to the Stampede sauce. 1.5 cups of molasses. So I have my black strap molasses here. You can find it online. I think I got this at Whole Foods. I'm gonna take this spatula out. And I should have just enough. If you don't have black strap molasses, can't get your hands on any, you could use brown sugar instead. Okay, so we'll see, hopefully. If not, if I don't have enough, then I'll definitely use some other sugar. I even have cane syrup. That will be good in here too. But the black strap molasses gives it a specific, like a unique taste. Oh man, maybe I didn't have as much as I thought I did, but that's okay. Ooh, okay. I'm glad I have other options. I guess it's gonna be cane syrup. I'm gonna, because I'm one of those people, I don't want to waste anything. I'm gonna put the lid on and turn this upside down so that I can get any last little bits out of it. Let's see. This is some good old locally produced sugarcane syrup. Grown and pressed and processed here. North of Jacksonville. Alright, so it said 1.5 cups. I'm gonna fill it up to 1.25. Cane syrup also has a unique taste. So once you add this, you better make sure you keep stirring it because it'll be more likely to stick once it has this in it. This is what sweetens it. Also adds to the yummy flavor. Give this a stir. Get any more black strap molasses out. Again, 1.5 cups. And I'm just under 1.5 cups. Nah, I mean, not really. Wishful thinking. There's like some drops coming out, but it's pretty much finished. So let me top it off with that. cane syrup. You know, molasses comes from sugar cane as well. So I think cane syrup is like the step before you get to molasses. You would have to cook down the cane syrup more to get it to turn into molasses. Molasses is more concentrated. There we go. I used up almost all my cane syrup, which is fine. I don't buy anything just to let it sit there. Alright, so I'm going to add this, and again, stir, stir, stir once you add this. It's going to make it sticky. Okay, got most of it in there. And give it a good stir. So you gotta, stir it to keep it from sticking. You also want it to be well incorporated into the sauce. Alright, what's next? We have 1.5 cups of vinegar. It calls for malt vinegar. I don't have malt vinegar. I'm going to use what I have, some regular vinegar. You could use apple cider vinegar as long as it's 5% acidity. And I'll also help rinse out some of that molasses and cane syrup. There we go. I'm a little bit under. So, have a little splash, splash. Okay, how are we doing now? There we go. That should be good. Okay. I have the vinegar. And just double checking everything. It's going to be a 1/2 inch head space. Yeah. And then they're going to process for 20 minutes once I get them in the jars. So I'm going to add that 1.5 cups of vinegar. Try to scrape some more of this molasses goodness out, cane syrup goodness. All right. Give it another stir. Now it's thinned down. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat up some. Make sure you stir really good all over the bottom. Okay. That's heating up. I'm going to get some of this stuff out of my way. Save my last little bit of cane syrup. I can get some more this fall when it's cane season. And then We need 2/3 cup of Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to give it a shake. Turn my cup so that I can see. And I'm looking for 2/3 cup. I love Worcestershire sauce. I put it in my meatloaf. I season steaks with it. Put it in my hamburgers. Use it in marinades. Okay. Well, right on the money. So it's 2/3 cup of Worcestershire sauce. Okay. And that vinegar and Worcestershire have thinned it out some. So you notice I'm keeping the lid off of it. I'm not covering the pot. That way as it heats up, it can reduce and thicken up. It's already looking really good. Rinse my hands. Oh, you know what I said I was going to do was rinse the blender out with the vinegar, and I forgot to, but it's okay. I'm just going to rinse this out in the sink. Make sure I didn't forget. Okay, so I need to add a couple more seasonings. This recipe doesn't call for any salt. There's salt in the Worcestershire sauce. There's salt in the canned crushed tomatoes. And it's a water bath canning recipe because remember, tomatoes are an acidic food. Plus you're adding the vinegar and the Worcestershire sauce that adds to the acidity. So the other remaining seasonings that we need to add, like I said, 4 tablespoons of chili powder and 4 teaspoons of black pepper. So I hadn't gotten those out, but I'm going to right now. There we go. Got my chili powder. And my black peppers up here. Salt that. Okay, let's not mess these up. 4 tablespoons of chili powder. And this is the chili powder that I could get in bulk off of Amazon for a good deal. Spice Classics. I use chili powder a lot. I like to make homemade rubs, barbecue rubs, and a lot of other things that call for chili powder besides just chili. And there's salt in this chili powder also. So it's going to have plenty of salt. It's 4. I don't even know where I put my lid at. Somewhere. Oh, right here. Okay. Now the pepper. 4 teaspoons of black pepper. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be nice and peppery, have some spice to it. That's why I like it, because it's different. Okay. Put that up there. Give it a good stir. I'm gonna bring you guys close so you can see. All right, so I stirred in the seasonings and I'm gonna let it come back up to a boil, and then once it comes back up to a boil, as soon as it does that, I'm gonna turn it back down and let it simmer. And when it gets to the simmering point, that's when I'm going to take the immersion blender to it. So we're doing pretty good. We're 30 minutes in. Part of that's me talking. So the water bath canner is also heating up. After I take the immersion blender to it, then I'll increase the heat on the water bath canner to get that up to the same temp as the sauce. So I'm going to clean up my mess and I'll bring you guys back when I go to take the immersion blender to it. Okay, so we're back and I have the pot over here where I can reach it with my immersion blender. So I got this as a gift. So Chris, if you're watching, thank you. Shout out to Chris Van Beezy. So he got this for me when he was my Secret Santa at work one year. So when you use the immersion blender, put it all the way down to the bottom of the pot, because if you're doing it toward the top, you're likely to splatter and get burnt because this is super hot. I started on the lower setting. I'm going to tilt it and it'll suction it better. I'm going to go ahead and use the higher setting. Again, be careful. Pretty chunky. It's thinner though, but it's chunky, so I'm gonna do this for a few more minutes to get it to smooth out. Okay, so we're back and it just took a little bit of patience. I just went around, stirring it until it was a nice smooth barbecue sauce texture. So it's nice, perfect. All right. Be careful, it's still hot. I'm gonna just set this over by my sink. I'm trying to shake off all the sauce. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug this for safety. It's still hot. It's nice and smooth. Alright, I'm gonna put it so you can see. There we go. It's really nice. So it's gonna, process more in the jars during the water bath process. You could use this like right away. I like to let it sit for, let me fix you guys so you can see me. I like to let it sit for a couple weeks to let the flavors develop before I use it. So I want at least 8 jars. So if I get 10, that will be perfect because that's a full canner load. So I'm going to go ahead and get my jars over here. I already have my lids clean and ready to go so that I can start filling the jars and just stirring. I like to stir because this is at the point where it really wants to stick because it's so thick. And get them in the canner. So let me get everything situated and I'll bring you right back. Okay, so I got a paper towel. I'm going to put some vinegar on it. have it ready so that I can wipe the rims of the jars. Okay. I'll put it here to the side. Got my jar on the plate. This is my setup when I can. To load jars is just easier for me since I don't have a lot of room to work with, but you guys can still see. So I'm gonna go ahead and start ladling it in. It smells really good. It reminds me of the smell of Sloppy Joe sauce right now. And it's a liquid, so I'm not going to worry about debubbling. If you don't have an immersion blender, you could puree the tomatoes before you put them in the stock pot. I wanted to mention that. In case you don't have an immersion blender, because I didn't have one for a long time. Alright. So I got this jar. My next one. I'm going to go ahead and wipe the rim just to make sure it's nice and clean. Okay. And I have my lids and rings over here ready to go. I have some Golden Harvest lids that I'm going to use for this. I'm comfortable using those for water bath canning. I got them on clearance. So, save my good lids for when I'm pressure canning or if I don't have any more of these. Remember, it'll be hot. Be careful. I'm going to get my jar lifter. This gets hot. I'm going to go ahead and get my little crochet pot holder that my friends and niece made for me. Okay. Move the lid. Water's bubbling. I'm going to go ahead and turn it up because I need it to boil soon. So, this has to be done before I have to go to work. So it's close to boiling, and this sauce is hot. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off on the burner. It's going to stay hot. It's a big pot. Put that one right there. Wipe my stove down. Got splattered. Okay, here we go. Careful, try not to make a mess. I think it's about 4, maybe a little under 4 ladles in each jar. So I guess it's a half cup ladle. Okay. Gotta carefully take my funnel. I try to be careful about removing the funnel so I don't make a big mess on the jar and then put it into the next jar. Okay. Wiped it. Grab my lid. Okay. Finger tight. Get my next jar. Keep doing the same thing. So if you have an abundance of tomatoes, or I know a lot of people, you don't get all your tomatoes at once, or you don't have time to process them, and a lot of us will freeze our tomatoes from the garden, and then like in the winter time when we have more time to do things, we'll take those tomatoes out of the freezer to process them. This would be an excellent recipe for that, especially when you thaw out your frozen tomatoes from the garden. You know how you already get all of that water out of the tomatoes. It's easy to take the skins off. So it'd just be a matter of, you know, pureeing those tomatoes and cooking them down. The recipe said to cook it down for like 45 minutes, but because I was already using like processed tomatoes, I didn't cook mine that long. Whenever I did it the last time though, when I used fresh tomatoes, I definitely did have to cook it down that long to get it to the consistency that I was looking for. Alright. finger tight. And you'll see little water bubbles coming out of the jars when you put them into the water bath canner, and that's already the water in the jars, you know, being forced out. I wonder, I'd like to experiment and use this as Sloppy Joe sauce and see what I think. It has a lighter color. I think I'm gonna try it. Okay. I know Sloppy Joe sauce usually has the little tiny like chunks of onion and bell pepper. This is already pureed, but it'll still have that flavor. Or if you just have a whole bunch of like canned tomatoes that you want to use up. You could do that. Oh, darn. There we go. I think I'm gonna have plenty to fill up this canner, which will be awesome. This would be nice to give as a gift. So I'm big into trying to make like homemade gifts, homemade goods to give as gifts for Christmas, housewarmings, birthdays, stuff like that. So this would be a great gift to give to someone that likes to barbecue a lot. It's not exactly like store-bought barbecue sauce, especially all those popular ones that have all the corn syrup in them. It's even better though because it doesn't have all those crazy chemicals in it. You know what you're putting in it. Okay. So when you water bath can, if you're new to canning, make sure you have at least 1 inch of water over the top of your jars. No, I don't need that much. Remember, if you're dealing with hot product, like I have the hot Stampede sauce, I need a hot canner to prevent thermal shock where the jars may burst and you could get cut, or you could make a mess in your canner and waste product, waste money, waste time. Let me wipe this. And then it has, like once you get the canner loaded, you have to bring it to a full rolling boil, which can take some time. That's why I had my canner preheating. One of the reasons. And then once it comes to a full rolling boil, keep it covered, set your timer, and then once the timer goes off, you turn the burner off, take the lid off, and let your canner sit for 5 minutes just to let everything settle down before you take your jars out. I always have a towel on my counter to put the jars on, and let them sit for at least 12 hours before you mess with them. So after 12 hours, I'll check the seals, take the rings off, clean the outside of the jars, label them. I'm excited at how much I'm getting. I always have extra jars and lids just in case I get more than the recipe says. There have been times I got less, but you always want to be prepared in case you get more. I'd much rather get more than get less than what it calls for. Make sure you clean these either with like super hot water. I'm using vinegar since there's all that molasses and cane syrup in there. It's sticky. You don't want that on the rim of the jar. I have some more canning projects I'm going to be doing this week, so I'm going to bring you along for those as well. I'm going to make strawberry jam. I have the rest of the crushed tomatoes that I opened for this recipe. I have the whole rest of that can plus another number 10 can that I'm going to do something with. So something else with tomatoes, strawberry jam. I have some things to do with some spices and herbs that I've grown. And I'm probably, some other exciting things that I have to bring you along for this week. So I'll make some extra videos this week. Tight. This is the 9th jar. Ooh, that might be too full. Let's see. Careful, careful. Yeah, it's a little too full. I'll just get a spoon so I can scoop that. Sanitize my spoon real quick. Okay. Gonna spoon a little bit out because I went over my 1/2 inch. Once you get the hang of canning, like you can look at it and tell the spacing really. Or if you want to double check, you can look at the lines on the side of the jar. I knew that one was over. Okay, I'll put this in the sink. Now I'm gonna wipe my jar. See if I have any extra after 10 jars. There we go. Nice and clean. I'm a little warm. It's not super hot, so that, it's good to go out and work in the garden early in the morning before it gets hot, and then you can come in the afternoon, hang out in the air conditioning, and get some canning done. Finger tight. And that color's also gonna deepen. I know from the last time I made it. It'll darken up a little bit more than what it is now. It's like a dark red now. And also, you know, the fact that I didn't use the full amount of molasses, that helps darken it too. But I expect it to darken some more. It's gonna be delicious. So Adrienne, let me know if you made your Stampede sauce. She asked me for the recipe a couple months ago. It's like, will you please make more or share the recipe? And I sent her the recipe. Just in case you haven't, you see I have some for you. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to have some extra, which is nice. I'll use it, definitely. So this, probably going to have to... Oh, that's all right. Let me see. Trying to think what I want to do with it in case I want to use it to put it in a jar. I'll just get an extra jar and just keep the rest in the fridge. Okay. Rinse it off my hands. I need to get this last jar cleaned. Dipped it in there. Yeah, that's right at a half inch. Okay. Last jar going in the canner. So I know you guys haven't been with me the whole entire time, but it's been an hour and 22 minutes so far since I started. You know, when we're recording, it takes extra time because we're talking. It goes a little bit faster when you're not recording. But it's all right. I like to bring you guys along. All right, last jar going in. Now it's time to put this lid on. It's already bubbly. Gotta get this thing to come up to a boil, and ooh, it is full of water. Once it comes up to a boil, I can turn it down a tiny bit just so that it's not like bubbling all over the place, getting my stove soaking wet. Alright, while I'm waiting on this to come up, I'm going to put that extra sauce into a jar so I can use it this week. Okay, so I have my 10 jars in the canner. I'm going to try to fit, I still got a lot. That might be more than a jar's worth. Let me see, let me try. So I'm going to try to carefully pour the rest into this extra jar. Okay. Uh-oh. And I'm overfilling it. Don't want to make a super big mess. See if I can... I got carried away. Oh, man. Whew. Full to the rim. And a little bit of a mess. I'm going to wash this spoon. And use this spoon to do a taste test out of that jar. And then I'm gonna let it, like, put one of my plastic lids on it and let it cool, and then I'll put it in the refrigerator once the canner's done. Okay, I don't want that big of a bite. I want to show you guys so you can see the consistency. Looks kind of like a ketchup-y barbecue sauce. It's delicious. You can taste everything. You can taste the peppers, like the green bell peppers, the onions. You can taste some heat. You taste the sweet. It's delicious. So I encourage you to give this delicious homemade Stampede sauce a try. So I kind of went over what I'm going to be doing with the water bath canner. Wait for it to come up to a boil. Set the timer for 20 minutes. And then once it's done processing, that'll be like perfect timing for me to get ready to go to work. And I got a mess to clean up in my kitchen, but I'm so thankful that you joined me today. If you're new to my channel and you like this video, please give it a like, share it on your social media. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. And I look forward to bringing you more videos, more gardening videos, more canning videos, and other home food preservation videos. So if you have any questions about the recipe or the canning process, please let me know down in the comments. And I will see you next time here at Becky's Garden Paradise. Have a blessed week.